Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone tuning in from across the world. Uh, I am truly honored to be hosting this very special session panel in English titled Living from the Heart, the Evolution of the Interior. Well, the heart is a center and it reflects how we feel, who we are, and our ultimate health. If we take care of our hearts, we take care of a whole being. And that's not just physically, but emotionally as well. So living from the heart feels much different from living from the head. Because when you live from your heart, you're at peace, you're at ease, and at control of yourself because of a deep inner knowing. You lead with love. You learn how to care for yourself and love yourself. You relax because you know that everything is going to be okay. Living from the heart coaxes your body back into balance. When the heart is in control, your body finds optimum health and starts acting like a well oiled machine instead of a broken down car. My name is Darden Shaling. I am a PhD candidate at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, specializing in communication studies, especially about human consciousness, and doing a dissertation on the Dalai Lama. I'm also specializing in women, gender, and sexuality studies here at UMass, and also a board member of the Anthropology of Consciousness. And I am truly honored to be moderating today's session because I have with me an illustrious panel of speakers, women who have achieved not just professional competencies, but personal competencies as well. Women who are change makers, women who are spiritual healers, women who come from a both scholarly and a practitioner background and who is blending theory and practice to make the world a better place because it all starts with individual well-being. So for the next 40 plus minutes, we will be discussing about a lot of themes and overarching themes about living from the heart, but essentially about how you can let your heart be the center of your life for you to transform. Questions about what is self awareness and why you should care. How can we balance our lives to feel that inner peace? And what techniques can be performed to live a life from the heart? What is the intelligence of the heart and what work does it do? And finally, most importantly, what role does education, awareness, and consciousness play in making you lead your life from the heart and thus ensuring a lasting happiness for all of us? So I'm going to introduce the speakers one by one and invite them to speak. I am very honored to invite Arcelis Roman, who is the founder of Emerge and Bloom and a certified optimism and resilience coach for heart-centered women in transitions. A signature framework to turn breakdowns into breakthroughs has been featured in Inspired Coach magazines. She is a Latina who knows firsthand that every disheartening circumstance offers an opportunity for growth and transformation. Her true calling in life is to teach others how to break down the barriers to a joyful life and the skills to live with a renewed sense of possibility. Over to you, Arcelis.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction and welcome everyone. I want to start with a question. Did you know that in Spanish, the word heart is literally translated as corazón? Yes, heart in Spanish is corazón. What a beautiful way to describe where our body meets our soul, that place of inner knowing, the point of deep level discernment. Very often we ask ourselves, what can I do? What should I do? But there's something that guides us where we need to be at any given moment, and it's a loving consciousness. We are created to do the things we love. Our heart knows the path. But what I see is that too often women are setting goals and visioning from the wrong place. And what's the wrong place? That space where what you think is possible or realistic is based on where you are right now. And it's the wrong place because what gets you here won't get you there. What if I told you that the life you are living could be better? The happiness we are all seeking truly is inside of each of us, and our heart knows the way. One of my aims in life is to guide women to shift the way they approach and look at life. And I can tell you that something magical happens when they become more aligned with their heart desires. I truly believe that when you feel drawn to something, it's a nudge from your heart telling you that it's aligned with what's ready to emerge from you. I have seen it countless times in my life and the life of others. The key is getting where you want to be, is listening to your heart and taking aligned action. In the beginning, not everything will make sense, but then you will be amazed at how everything starts to unfold. It will be like magic. When you listen to your inner knowing and answer your heart's call, you bring serendipity and synchronicity to your life. Quiet your mind and listen to your heart leading you. Invite guidance and clarity and trust your insights. Pay attention and learn to really listen. Life has a pulsing rhythm that moves around us and through us constantly. Your heart is the compass pointing the way. A crucial skill to gain insight into yourself is self awareness. It will help you find practical solutions to change for the better. It's essential to become self aware of what thoughts are holding you back and choose to believe there are endless possibilities. The benefits of being self aware and harmonizing our life with our heart can be a powerful driving force. Many of the recent discoveries regarding heart intelligence and how it works in our life have been made by the Institute of Heart Math. They discovered that when you develop coherence inside yourself, you improve your ability to connect with intuition. They call the heart our second brain. When you cultivate your heart's intelligence, you will see things from a very different perspective. So now your question may be, how can I do that? How can I have access to my heart intelligence? A great way to stay in touch with your heart is practicing awareness combined with the power of breathing. This allows a greater connection with your higher loving self. In the resources, you will find a PDF document with two powerful techniques designed to help you generate and sustain coherence and distinguish between your head voice and your heart voice. The research has shown that through those techniques, the heart will harmonize the energy between the heart, mind, and body, increasing coherence and clarity. I also encourage you to embark on your inward journey through a daily practice of stillness to balance your life and feel inner peace. I like to call stillness the sweet surrender because we must be willing to give up our mind chatter to bring our awareness back to the present moment. This process is ideal to let go your conditioned behaviors and to listen to your heart. You will find that when you have access to your heart's wisdom, a sense of inner peace will move through you. To live a balanced life and feel inner peace, you must free your life from unnecessary noise and constraints. Soon you will be more tuned and connected with your heart. One of the reasons I am so passionate about helping others to live a heart centered life is because I know it provides access to solutions difficult to discover when we feel disconnected or powerless. When you change from logical thinking to intuitive wisdom, you are making a shift to a new way of living. So when people see you creating optimal conditions in your life, you are showing them the results of using your heart as a compass. You are setting a new model for them to see that it's possible to accomplish their innermost heart desires. In addition, by activating the intelligence of your heart, you are not only going to live an expansive life, but you will want to do more to improve the life of others. It's what Joseph Campbell called crossing the return threshold in the hero's journey. It's integrating and sharing the wisdom learned on the quest. When you expand one area of your life, it impacts everything. When you move into heart centered actions, you change more than your circumstances. You are being guided towards a meaningful life. Be ready to own your life and to light the way for others. And I want to close with a beautiful quote from Brianna West. There is no desire that can be planted in your heart without an equal amount of potential to make it reality.
Thank you very much, Liz. What a lovely way to end your presentation with that powerful quote by West. Uh, I'm going to hold on to that, and we're going to have a little time post all the presentations for a little bit of a discussion. I am truly honored to move on to Jamie Jenkins, who is a foreign based wellness entrepreneur, holistic health coach, and a business consultant specializing in leadership development and team building. Jamie is a US citizen, but she currently lives in Quito, Ecuador, with her daughter Isabel. Jamie creates high impact and engaging online events and workshops where women can come face to face with exceptional certified life coaches and wellness professionals. Jamie brings the best of her training, tools, and knowledge to the community to help us get through these difficult times with support and wisdom. Jamie believes no one should go through such tough times alone. I am really so looking forward to hearing from Jamie about again the topic living from the heart. Over to you, Jamie.
Thank you, Dart, and thank you so much for that introduction. And Aracelis, I also want to say thank you so much for those beautiful concepts and ideas that you began our session with as well. So my presentation is going to be more about living from the heart in the midst of adversity. I believe that when adverse times happen or life challenges happen, even though these are situations that we don't want, we wish they wouldn't have come to us, there's a great deal of learning and wisdom and growth that becomes possible even in the midst of these challenging times. So very quickly, I'll just share a couple ideas with you. Now, I'm a big fan of dictionaries and thesaurus books because I love to go back to the root of words too. And I loved, Araceli, how you showed that corazon is with reason. I love that. That was cool. So I'm going to talk about the two words resilience and transformation. Science has shown that humans, we have enormous and immense capacity to go from not just resilience, but to growth. So what is resilience? If you have any comments, you can put it in our comments there, type in your answers. But basically, resilience is the capacity of something to recover quickly from difficulties or toughness. It's the ability of a substance or object to spring back to shape. Elasticity. So you think of a balloon, right? And a balloon is a pretty delicate object. And if we press on the balloon, it takes a different shape when we put it under pressure. But as soon as we release the balloon from that pressure, it takes its original shape. That is resilience. The concept of resilience is just going back to the shape that you originally were. Transformation, on the other hand, is a thorough or dramatic change in form, nature, character, or appearance, especially a radical one. So, the one everyone probably already has in the back of their head, the caterpillar turning into the butterfly. It goes into its cocoon and it stays in there for a long period of time as it begins to transform really from the inside out. And there's all of this pressure and difficulty to come out of that cocoon. And when it comes out, it's something completely different than what it was going in. That's really what I want to talk about. How do we go from not just bouncing back from difficult things that happen to us, but actually allowing these things in a way to transform us and push us forward in our own personal growth and transformation. So first, I want to start with a few things that I believe to be true. Now, I do believe that it is really important to honor ourselves and our truth in every experience. Something difficult that happens to us, the first reaction, and it's normal and it's important, is to grieve. My brand Lemon Rebellion, the events that Darden mentioned that I create, the saying, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. That's actually the opposite of honoring ourselves in many ways, because when life gives you lemons, make lemonade, it sounds like you're putting something sweet and sugary on top of something that honestly isn't very good. That's not very authentic, and it's not going to allow us to get into touch with what we really feel and allow ourselves to grieve, so that then we can move forward and grow based on authenticity and not based on just, faking it and pushing through. Secondly, I think that it's really important to accept that adversity happens. It's part of life. It's nothing, in many ways, it's nothing personal. It's just part of the human experience. Things will happen that we have to go through and grow through and deal with and move forward. Also, I believe that it's true that when we're ready, we can choose our response. And why do I say when we're ready? Because if something challenging, and I'm talking about really the kind of minor challenges in life that when they happen, we feel overwhelmed by them, but they're not absolutely tragic or don't put our lives in danger, like losing a job, losing an important relationship, getting diagnosed with maybe a chronic but non-life-threatening disease that we have to learn how to adapt and pivot to. We can choose our response in those situations. This has happened. How am I going to deal with it? Who am I going to be in the face of this situation? If we can stay open, I also believe that there are important lessons that we can learn from these experiences, both about ourselves and about the nature of our connection to everyone around us and everything around us. And there's another saying that I really dislike. You ladies, I'm sure have heard it. Everything happens for a reason. I don't like that saying. It's another one I don't like, because I don't want to believe that really bad things and the tragic things that happen in the world, and we're seeing so much more of it, I feel like, lately. I don't want to believe that those things happen for a reason. But I do want to believe that we have, again, an ability to choose how we respond, and we can create meaning and learning from those situations and turn them to our advantage. Next, some of the tools that get us there. From resilience, which is just bouncing back, to actually using adversity to help us transform. The first, acceptance. And when I say acceptance, I don't mean accepting the bad things happening around us necessarily, or the bad things that have happened to us, but I do mean realizing that if something is over and it's already happened, we can realize that was something that that happened, and now we can choose how we deal with it. Second, self-compassion. Learning how to be gentle with ourselves, giving ourselves the grace, again, to just process and experience and feel and be gentle with ourselves and whatever our reaction may be to those circumstances. Thirdly, self-reflection. I know that as women, a lot of times we can be very self-critical, but how can we use self-reflection as a tool to just get to know ourselves in these circumstances that make life more challenging? There are certainly lessons about that we can learn if we choose to reflect on it. Gratitude. Again, I don't know anyone that's going to be super grateful for something hard that happened to them right in the beginning, and maybe we don't need to, but I think that it can be interesting to be grateful for the conditions around it. So let's say you've lost your job, and that makes things really hard financially. But maybe as a result of that, over time, you're able to find a career that's even more fulfilling for you. Or you come into contact with new people that help you move in a new direction that creates even more abundance for you in the future. So that gratitude is about looking at what is going right, even within a challenging or difficult circumstance. Curiosity. What can I learn from this? How can I move forward? Intentionality. Looking at, okay, who do I have in my life? Are these the people I want to have in my life? How am I showing up with my values in my life? Is this really the most authentic way I can show up? also taking action. When adversity comes, it makes us uncomfortable. When challenges come, we think, oh gosh, like how am I going to move forward? Just being predisposed to taking action and trying new things can be oftentimes a gift in disguise. And again, then that drive to create meaning from any circumstance. So that to be said. And I don't know if you all have heard of this, but there's been some research since the late 90s, to be honest, on post-traumatic growth. Now, most of us have heard of post-traumatic stress disorder, and these are the very sad occasions in which someone has gone through some sort of severe trauma, and then that really sticks with them for life, and they have a hard time getting over it for multiple reasons. But on the broad spectrum of the human experience, most of us respond either through resilience and bouncing back. And then there is a small, up to 10 to 20% of the population that, even faced with the most horrendous traumas, actually are able to transform that into growth in five areas of life. These are appreciation for life, personal strength and resilience, closer relationships and community, spiritual development, and new possibilities. And I think that that's a beautiful thing to share with you, because we look at adversity and challenges, and when we're in the middle of it, we think this is all that's ever going to happen. Maybe this is the last, thing I'll ever do. And we forget that this is just one chapter of a story, and there are certain attitudes and possibilities and new opportunities and things that can help us really transform that into a platform for growth to create a more meaningful life. And I think that this is related to speaking from the heart, in terms of sometimes our heart is going to be hurt by things around us, but if we can dig into that authenticity and some of these other things, then we can use it to move forward. So that's all I wanted to share for today.
Thank you very much, Jamie. I think some really insightful advice about living life not only from the heart, but with a conscious mind, because as you said, adversaries and challenges are indispensable. They are a part of life. So, they come, you cannot avoid them. You cannot press the pause button. But I think living from the heart, as you very well echoed, is how do you respond to that? And I, for the last couple of years, lived I try living my life based on a quote that I saw somewhere on Instagram. I think it was, life is 10% what happens to you, but 90% how you react to it. And I think your presentation really illustrated that to a great extent. So, and we have much to benefit from that. Thank you again, Jamie. We will have a little bit of discussion on that as well, and draw on Arcelis also. But let me welcome our third speaker, Virginia Rivera, a certified mentor and coach with more than 25 years as a corporate and business leader. Virginia is a committed philanthropist who, in 2016, co-founded Mujir Imprenta Latina, a nonprofit entity germinating in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, providing training, technical support, network of mentors and coaches to women who wish to undertake and achieve their economic empowerment. Virginia is a communicator and host of her digital radio and TV program, Solopreneurs by Virginia Rivera, which is dedicated to promoting the entrepreneurial, business, and professional women, the CEO of our very own life. So over to you, Virginia.
Thank you so much. I am so honored to be sitting here. I want to say hello to Aracelis and Jamie, and to you, Darden. I am really excited to speak about this, particularly because, as you can see, I am more involved in the business side of things. But entrepreneurship starts with the heart. And whenever I coach, I always usually say, oh, Virginia, I learned this. I went to school and did this. I'm certified in this. But my question always is, are you listening to what your heart is saying? For many, many years, we thought that if we had a really sound business plan, our business would be perfect and it would take off. The truth is that to be successful in business, there's so much more than having a sound mind, great education. You need to have heart. And that is the key, and that is the most important thing. And and you question and you say, but why heart? The truth is that a heart is beating in an unborn fetus before the brain is formed. So truly, our language, our inner language, starts first thing with our heart. And there is a heart intelligence. For many, many years, we thought that it was a brain directed. But the truth is, how many times have we been in a car and we're like, okay, I'm going to wait instead of running this light, or I'm going to switch lanes, or I'm going to do something else because something tells me to do it. And then when you look back, something happened in that spot. You're like, wow, something said. And the truth is, I lived that. I would say 25 years ago, maybe 26, I was a recently divorced mom, and my ex had remarried, and he wanted my daughter to meet his new wife. And this was all during Mother's Day. So I said, you know what? I'm going to give them the space. I want them to get along. I want them to get to know each other. And so I said, please take her. And my mom said, no, you should go. It's Mother's Day. You should be there. For some reason, and although I loved my mom, and she's very, very wise, there was something in me saying, don't do it. So I have to tell you, my mom was very upset because I wasn't with my kid on Mother's Day. So I decided to go to Disney instead. I'd never been to Disneyland. I said, well, this is my time. And she's like, I can't believe this is so selfish. The truth is that the flight that I was supposed to be on was a value jet flight that crashed in Florida, and that one survivor was found. So that was the day that I said, if there was ever any doubt in my mind that the heart speaks, that the heart knows, and that there was a coherence between brain and heart, was that day. For some reason, although I loved my mother, and I have to say that everything that she said, pretty much I always followed. She's pretty wise. In my heart, I knew that that wasn't the right decision. I had bought the ticket. I was ready to go, but something said, stay home. At that point, I realized that there was so much more for me to live, and that there has to be a purpose. And purpose is so aligned with heart. Purpose is not aligned with your brain. The purpose that you find in your life is aligned with your heart. And many people say, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to find that purpose. And that happens a lot with my entrepreneurs. And I always say, you have to find a little inner peace. And a secret about inner peace is that you don't have to be in a peaceful and quiet place to find inner peace. You can be in the middle of chaos and still find your inner peace. But the most important part of that is really connecting to heart. The moment that you realize that heart is where your values live, where your passion lives, where your insecurities live, where the vulnerabilities live, all that lives right there. But that makes who you are. A lot of people call it a soul. A lot of people call it a spirit. But the truth is that it's our inner core, our heart. Everything that we do grows from there. Now, if you're willing and you dare to sync with your heart, you're not going to be the only person growing. People around you will also benefit because you come from a place of truth. And I have to say, once and when again, many people will say, oh no, this life that we lead today about looking great and being shallow in many, many aspects will last for a while. Eventually, it will catch up with you. If you're not being truthful and honest with who you are, sooner or later, and it's going to hurt more, you're going to have to face who you are. And that brings me to self-awareness. We need to be so connected with who we are in order to face whatever life throws. Unfortunately, we're not taught this in school. We're not taught to really get to know the Virginia that's inside of me. And that is your heart. Many times we'll say women are better at intuition. Women have the sixth sense. We all have this. This is our inner workings. And like I said before, it's the first thing that works when we become human. So if we really become self-aware, and that's more than anything, a connection with you, where you're at in your life, what do you want right now, who you are at this moment. And I have to say that things change all the time, because who I was when I was 19 is not who I am today when I'm 54. So I have to say that our heart evolves with us, grows with us. And if we can really continue to embrace, or we take the time to really start growing from the heart, I have to tell you, things will happen. And you will start to see energy changing, not only for you, but the people that are around you. Once again, I have to say that the coherence between brain and heart will definitely show improvements in your mental health. And I think we've had this conversation recently, especially with Simone, our beloved gymnast, when she said, I'm not going to compete. I can't compete mentally. I'm not there. And a lot of people freaked out, and other people said, oh my God, I understand what she's going to. She's talked about twisties. And in the gymnast world, that means when you're up in the air, you don't know where you're at. And then in order to land, it's really, really hard. How many of us feel the twisties in our lives? When she said that, I said, oh my gosh, I get it. I understand. How many times have I been flying high, thinking that I know what I'm doing and everything is going great? And all of a sudden I look around, I'm like, what's going on? And you get disoriented for one moment because you're not connecting to heart. So when we have this coherence between brain and heart, our mental health starts to clarify. And I think more than ever, with the way we live our lives, how fast everything is happening, we really need to continue to this relationship. And somebody said how easy or how hard it is. There are three things that I say that you need in order to really work heart driven. Number one is appreciation. Appreciate where you're at right now. Good or bad, you're learning. Put on your thinking cap and say, what am I learning from this? Because the harder and the longer you take to learn, the more difficult it gets. So the sooner you learn whatever life is trying to teach, you will be okay. Number two, non-judgment. How many of us stand up here and we look down on people when being not judgmental is so much easier? Being open, accepting. Your life is not my life. You don't know what I've been through. You know, in order for you to stay there, well, she's so irresponsible. She speaks so fast. What is she doing? You don't really know where I come from. So it's really, really hard for you to be able to judge me. But we do it every day. It's part of our ego. And we know that ego is not a good thing for anybody. And forgiveness. When you forgive, it's not about the person. It's about you. Do you really want to carry that energy, that negative energy with you? It's not easy. Jamie just said about it. It takes time. And it takes really being honest with who you are. But the moment that you put the effort to be honest with who you are, things will start to happen. You will launch that business. It will be so in tune with who you are. So I truly believe that when we do this, we really need to start living completely in coherence with brain and heart. And I have to say, the mind is abstract. It will believe everything you say. So I end with that. Start talking to your mind. It comes from the heart. Let it visualize what you really want for your life. And that's where you will go. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Virginia. I think what you said not only resonates with people in business, but outside of it too, because ultimately you're talking about living a genuine life, you know, a pure-hearted, being pure-hearted, being warm-hearted, and the values that embed are functioning in a day-to-day lives, forgiveness, being non-judgmental. And I loved the way you brought up the example of Simone Biles, such a brave girl who showed the world, you know, that your mental health comes first. And I think she was being the most genuine person we could ever have, and hats off to her. And I love the fact that you are bringing in current developments, bringing in knowledge, bringing in wisdom, practices, experiences, and really simplifying it for all of us to not only connect, but to also reflect and reconcile with this reality, the importance of living a life filled with values and doing everything from the heart. As we say, follow your heart and the rest just follows, right? So I'm so happy to hear from all three of you. And I do see we still have 9 more minutes left. I really needed that time. So I will pose a question, and I mean, if you like, I can invite all of you one by one. If not, I would like to hear from all three of you on a random basis. So the underlying message coming from all three of you is living a life that really justifies us as human, and my dissertation, interestingly, is on human values. So I am trying to see how, social and scientific training, the science and the social aspect uh, uh, to studies or to academia, how that can really focus on what we call, or what my root guru, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, calls as emotional hygiene. We focus a lot on the physical hygiene. We brush our teeth, we take bath, we spend a lot of money on the physical hygiene. But what about our emotional hygiene?
Absolutely.
So I'm trying to see how academia, where there's so much hue and cry about it, the whole institutionalization of education, how a study of human emotions, human mind, warm-heartedness, kindness, forgiveness, compassion, all that can really be mainstreamed in academia. And my research tells me that what we are faced with today, especially we live in a COVID world, but we also are living in a pre-climate change world, which is very soon going to become a reality, especially after the IPCC report last week. They said it's red code for humanity. We're in the danger zone. And my research tells me, yes, there are policies, there are these big macro initiatives that needs to take place, but ultimately it hinges on to individual actions, and individual actions are informed by individual consciousness, human consciousness. So as experts in this room and experts on this topic, how can we really harness human consciousness, human resilience, ethics, human values, the strength of really living a life from the heart, to combating a pressing challenge such as the climate change? So yes, that's a very broad question. I'd love to hear all of your opinions, and anyone can jump in.
Well, I'm going to start then. I truly believe that once we become honest with us, with ourselves, we start to live a more transparent life in all aspects. And as soon as that starts to happen, you start to be very careful about what's around you, not only with people, but with living things, right? And our planet is a living thing. And once we realize that this is the only place, the only planet that has delicious things that we love. For example, I love my cup of coffee. There's only one planet that has that, right? And it's this planet. If I don't take care of it, I don't see myself involved, and my heart is not vested in it, I will never understand how important it is. So I think that for children, and I see now my kids growing up and their children growing up, and I see that there's a connection with the younger generations, that they really do feel connected to what's going on. I think for my generation, which I'm Generation X, it was about obtaining. It was about getting. It was about being bigger and brighter and shinier. And I think that as we live and as we become more human, and we've suffered so many losses as a humanity, that I think that little by little we're finally connecting with one another and really discovering. But I think it starts again with the heart. The moment that I live with my heart, I start to be honest, transparent, and I start to really appreciate the simpler things, what really makes us who we are. And we're all part of the human race. And in order for us to all live, we have to live in this planet. So I think it's just easy connections. I love me. I want to feel safe and I want to feel loved. And this is the place where I live. So I have to start taking care of this. So I think if we start talking about that more and accepting and sharing that this is important to me without judging, because we can't judge, but without judging, I think that the connection starts to happen easier.
Absolutely, Virginia. I loved what you said, and I'm so happy. A journal article that I wrote, it's actually a peer-reviewed article. It's coming out on Equinox Day on the Coropsis Journal. The topic, surprisingly, is finding hope in the brightest of days and focus in the darkest of days, and how to not judge the universe. And here I talk about climate change and individual appreciation and connection to the life that's around us. And I love the way you said, the moment we realize this planet is a living thing, there the connection starts. Thank you, Virginia. And Jamie and Aslis, whoever wants to come in.
I'm happy to.
Yes.
One thing I was thinking as Virginia was speaking, I was listening, is how important I think it also is to be able to hear our hearts, to slow down, come back into our bodies, breathe, and just realize that for us to have any kind of impact at all on the future of the planet, we have to slow down and be able to be open to change as well. How we're living, how we're connecting with each other. I think sometimes, again, we were talking about the ego, we forget that my well-being is intertwined with your well-being. Each of our well-being is intertwined with everyone else out there, no matter how different or similar we may be. We're just one giant ecosystem connected to this planet, and every living thing and every piece of it works for our benefit or our detriment, but we can choose how we show up and how we live in the midst of that. And I also have a daughter, she's 12, and she's a Gen Z. And I see a lot of hope in a way in this generation, because they do see that we're all connected from what I can see. And sometimes I hear her speaking with her friends, and then one friend in particular, they talk about social constructs, and they're 12 years old. And I'm amazed.
I love it.
We're like, gender's just a social construct. Language is just a social construct. I'm like, you guys are amazing. But they also were talking literally this weekend about how they don't know if when they grow up, there will be a planet which will sustain life for them. And how wild is that to think that as children, they're dealing with that reality?
Absolutely.
And I heard them speaking, saying, it kind of, the play on words was like, how do we live now to affect that? Or is that just going to happen no matter what we do? And I can hear their desperation and their hope, but also the fear of it might be too late. So another thing, just to add to the discussion, that I think is interesting is, how do we help the next generation construct their language around this issue? Because we know as adults and with training in these things that the way we speak about it is the reality that we're going to create. So if the younger generation is already convinced there is no future, then there will be no future. And I think that's an interesting thing to I don't have answers. I just put it out there because I've observed it.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I mean, this is lovely, Jamie. I love the way you brought in your daughter, 12-year-old daughter, Isabel, right?
Isabel, yes.
I can imagine her being this bright-eyed visionary, talking about social constructs and caring for the planet. And I think, we live in the age of Greta Thunberg. And I think, yes, as Virginie said, the previous generation and likewise our generation kind of really brought a lot of havoc and destruction, right? And I argue in one of my books, which I co-authored with Sharon, who's also one of the speakers for the session, for one of the sessions at the Women Economic Forum, is the imbalance in our ecosystem also partly happened because of the suppression of the feminine. Women had to undergo a lot of oppression, suffering, these oppressive, patriarchal, heteropatriarchal system that was normalized, kind of engendered the destruction of the planet. And likewise, and today we see hope and we see inspiration in the younger generation. And the Dalai Lama, who I study in my research, called the youth of the 21st century, including your daughter, Jamie, as the planet's real humanity. So they are the future, and looks like we're in the safe hands. But then I think this generation, our generation, has a lot of amends to make and to really set the stage for the younger generation to take that mantle of leadership so that the climate crisis doesn't really come in with such a force as COVID did. So thank you, Jamie, for bringing in that interesting aspect for the role of youth, because yes, there's a problem, but there is a solution too, right? All right, Aslis, can I have your 2 cents?
Yes, I would like to add that it's very interesting that science is proving what our ancient cultures always said, and that when you live a heart-centered life, your actions are guided by compassion. And when you live a life guided by compassion, you live a life that is good for the humanity and the earth. So that's my opinion in this topic.
Absolutely, Arcelis. I'm so glad you brought in compassion because this is the key, right? For the individual, for the other, for the collective, for the planet. And again, one of my articles on the Dalai Lama's interdisciplinary approach to climate change cites a very interesting quote that he said. He called this blue planet our only home. This is our only home. And if this gets destroyed, we don't have a roof over our head. And what we need now is compassion for the self, compassion for the planet, and compassion based on or compassion motivated by action. So compassion is not passivity. It's not for you to just sit back, but something that lets you act, right? To safeguard your life, that of their loved ones, and that of the planet. So thank you, Arcelis. So on that note, I am very happy to end today's discussion. I love the way you started with what can happen at the individual level, living from the heart, acting with consciousness, being resilient, being compassionate, being kind, and then how that translates to the larger phenomenon of caring for the planet. And it all starts from within. As we say, home is where the heart is. As long as we feel home wherever we go, we are living from the heart. And that is the way forward. So thank you very much, Jamie, Arcelis, and Virginie. It's been an honor talking to all of you. And I really look forward to working with all of you at some point in our lives. And it's all about connection, as you said. So I'm happy to end the session. Thank you all very, very much. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Let's do a picture. Okay, a picture. Okay, good.